WB4269, a variety that's been out now for 4 or 5 years. When I first saw this variety, I was really intrigued. It's an early finishing variety, so it's early to harvest. You can get it out of the field and avoid some weather issues. But it didn't break dormancy early. Normally, when we have real early varieties, maturity-wise, as far as harvest is concerned, they generally break dormancy early. And as I've spoken before, that breaking dormancy early in the springtime can get you in trouble with late freezes. That seems to be the norm instead of the exception. And this one gives you 2 or 3 days extra on the front side before it joints, and that protects against some of those late freezes. 4269, maybe not as high a yielding potential as some of the other varieties, but it has very good yield potential. It also has an excellent ability to fill the grain during stressful times, during the grain fill period. It generally has pretty good leaf health to it. It is susceptible to tan spot, and if you're planting wheat on wheat, it's probably one that needs to be treated for tan spot. It does have some tolerance to fusarium head blight. It's not as strong as some of our other lines are, but it does have tolerance to fusarium head blight. Standability on this variety is average to a little above average. Height is relatively short most of the time, so that helps keep it up in adverse conditions as well. Test weight is average, as is the bill of bake quality on this variety. But this is a tougher kind of variety that can go in a whole lot of scenarios, in my opinion, that still has a lot of functionality. Not as much forage production potential as this variety, but it's one that will produce some forage in the fall if you get it planted at an early enough planting day. But a real nice variety if you want something that's going to come out of the field earlier in the harvest season. This is an excellent variety to take a look at. WB4303 is a variety I fell in love with my first time I saw it. It has a very large, densely packed head. This variety's probably got as much genetic potential as any variety out here. Not only does it have tremendous genetic potential, it's got the straw strength to go with that genetic potential. A lot of times varieties that may yield good might not have the straw strength to go along with that genetic potential, but here's one that has very good straw strength along with that tremendous genetic potential. This is a high management wheat. It doesn't have good foliar disease tolerance. It's one that you need to push it, to maximize those yields with fertilizer and protecting fungicide application. It definitely is going to have to be sprayed, as it's susceptible to many of the foliar disease pathogens. But if you want something that has the potential to yield at the top of the heap, I always call it, and have straw to keep it upright, this is a good variety to look at. It is a little bit light on test weight at times, particularly if it gets rained after it becomes mature. The protein is very good on this variety. Mill and bake quality is definitely acceptable, and it appears on quite a few the preferred grain handler list. So if you're looking for one, you're looking for something that you can manage, that we give you the yield potential and you manage the rest of it, this is a great variety for you. It's exceptional also on forage production. Another one that comes out of the ground extremely well and will produce a lot of forage. So again, this is another variety outside of the disease aspects that will check a lot of the boxes for you. And this is a variety that I think you really need to take a look at if you haven't used it in the past. But this is one that I would say that you will be pleased with more times than not. WB4401 is really a variety that's a complete package. It's just got so many good things going for it. It comes out of the ground extremely well in the fall. It's an excellent forage producing wheat overall in the fall and in the springtime. Yields of this variety are very high. Quality on this variety is really solid. Leaf health on this variety, including resistance to the new strain of stripe rust, it looks very, very good on this particular variety. It has decent tolerance to acid soils as well. It has very good tolerance on Fusarium head blight, so we can go after corn. If you want to plant it after corn, it fits that double crop scenario. If you want to go in behind late, in November, after milo or after soybeans, something like that, it has adequate tillering ability that will still deliver excellent yields come the next spring. If you look at this variety, it really performed extremely well last year. It was the top of the heap, when you looked across WestBred trials and university trials. This one did exceptionally well. It has that nice fertile head type to it, again, and so yields are exceptional here. Straw strength is adequate on this variety. I would say if things get a little bit leggy, or you think you're in conditions that it may get a little bit tall, an application of a plant growth regulator to shorten it up, to keep it upright better, might be a wise investment. But this is one that we definitely need to think about including in our portfolio in the central and eastern parts of the region. Wheat streak mosaic tolerance is a little bit weak, so that's going to limit it somewhat moving further west. But this is a brand new release this past year, and one that's just been an exceptional performer with us, and one that you can, as my co-worker says, checks a whole lot of the boxes. WB4418 is a variety that's been out for 3 or 4 years now, and this variety is really about standability, that straw strength. We don't have anything in our lineup that compares with this variety from a standability standpoint. Extremely good standability. Foliar disease tolerance is okay with this variety. It makes an extremely long head, but stress at grain fill time, it can give up those 2 to 4 mesh on that head, and sometimes you get too much stress, that can knock the yields back a little bit. This does fit primarily in areas where we may have insect problems such as Hessian fly and or sawfly, and standability is at a premium. As I say, this is the best standing wheat that we have in our portfolio, and among the better standing wheats you're going to find on the market. Maturity, it finishes pretty early, but it doesn't break dormancy real early. That's another advantage that we've got with it, that it will finish quickly, but it doesn't break dormancy, and tends to stay away from some of those late spring freezes. But unless you're really looking for something that's just for standability standpoint, probably better selections out here overall than what 4418 would be. WB4515 is a variety, and it's really about quality with this variety. It's exceptionally good test weight, exceptionally good milling and baking quality. Yields are consistent with this variety. It's always been one that's never really let you down. It may not be the highest yielding variety, but it's probably not going to be the lowest yielding either. It's a little bit later coming out of dormancy, so it's one you can plant a little bit earlier in the fall, and you don't have to worry about it breaking dormancy in the springtime and catching one of those late spring freezes. Now, one of the things that has happened with this variety is loss of rust tolerance. It is highly susceptible to the new strain of stripe rust. And it lost its leaf rust rating, or excuse me, its leaf rust resistance a couple of years ago. But if you're looking for something high test weight, looking for something with excellent quality, looking for something that can really do a good job of filling grain during stressful times, this is still a very good variety. But be aware that it does need to be treated with a fungicide because of susceptibility to the rust, leaf and stripe rust, and go forward appropriately. If you don't want to have to worry about that spraying, this probably would not be a good variety, but if you're going to look for quality and try to extract some of those premiums from the quality, certainly going to need to make a fungicide application of this particular variety. WB 4699 was released in 2019. This variety is particularly well adapted to the central and eastern plains. It does much better in the higher rainfall areas because it doesn't have an extremely large head. It's a very high tillering variety, so yields tend to come from the number of heads produced. And may I say that it really produces a lot of heads. It's a short-statured variety. It's kind of a later medium type variety. It has good leaf health to it. Now, in 2021, we apparently have a new strain of stripe rust, and it has become somewhat susceptible to the new strain of stripe rust, but I would say that it's more of an intermediate to moderately susceptible line to this new strain of stripe rust. It is, again, short in stature. It stands very well. It has that excellent yield potential. It has the best fusarium head blight tolerance, I think, of any hard red winter that's adapted to the central plains. It really has good head scab tolerance. The only thing that's really a detractant to this variety is the protein and test weight. They're pretty average to slightly below average. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind as you manage this variety. It's about disease resistance, it's about standability, and it's about extremely high yield with this variety. This is one, if you're in the central and eastern part of the Great Plains, you really need to take a look at. The last couple of years, it has won many of the tests, particularly in the east, and has performed extremely well in the central part as well. But this is an excellent selection if you're in areas particularly that have high rainfall.